All right, horror hounds, and welcome to another episode of This Just In. Today we're going to be going over Halloween Ends. This is a brand new movie. It's on theaters right now, and you can also watch it on Peacock. What I'm going to do is I'm still going to do my ins, my mixed, my outs. I'm going to do it spoiler free to start off with. Then I'll give a warning that I'll be going into spoilers, so anybody who hasn't seen the movie or doesn't want the movie spoiled for them, they can pause, come back and watch it after they've seen the movie. But just want to give you guys a heads up that I'll be doing both in one video on this one. So the video might be a little bit longer. I'm not sure. We'll see how talking about the movie goes. Also, once I'm done with the spoilers, I'll go into what my actual rating of this movie is. And for those of you that don't want to hear the spoilers but want to know what my rating is, down in my description, I will put the time for when my rating will show up. All right, so let's get into this. First thing is the ends. The first in I'm going to do is the score. I like the score in this movie. Obviously, you still get some John Carpenter classic, but him and his son came back to do the score for this one as well. And then to go along with that is also another in for me is cinematography. The movie's shot very well and still looks good. You get the same director. You probably got all the same people working between all three of these films, including like a lot of the cast and everything else. So things that you liked in the first two, you're probably going to like in this one when it comes to that type of stuff. My last in for this movie right off the bat, because I'm going to try to stay pretty vague in this spoiler-free part, is the acting. Laurie does a fantastic job in this movie. Jamie Lee Curtis, that is, as Laurie. I like Laurie's character portrayal in this movie, and everything she does is more on a believable part, not unlike the dialogue in part two there, Halloween Kills, where everything felt like it was meant for a trailer. This one has one line in the whole thing that feels like it's meant for the trailer. All right, so going into my mixed stuff, I do have some kills I'm mixed on. In this movie, I do feel like there are some really nice kills that are on screen, but like with this whole trilogy that's been going on, they do a lot of kills off screen. So for that one, it's just going to fall into mixed for me. And then the other thing that's mixed for me is the plot. Like I said, I don't want to get into spoilers. So there are things that happen within this plot that I think they do a very good job of portraying it. They do a good job with all the writing and stuff. Much better job writing in this one than they did in Kills, where it felt like there was no plot. But there's things that I was in on in the plot, and then there's things that I was out on with this plot. So therefore, just going to get tossed into the mix. Now I'm going to go on to my two negatives. The two things I'm out on. The first one is Michael Myers in this movie. It's the first movie out of all the Halloween movies that I have been out on Michael Myers. I don't feel like the portrayal of Michael is very good in this movie, nor do I like the storyline, the writing and stuff like that goes for the story that involves Michael Myers in this movie. And then my other out is the ending. I don't hate how the movie ended completely. It's just more like I felt like the third act should have been a longer act in this film than what the first and second act were. So I feel like the ending feels like it's more added into the end of this movie than it should have been. Kind of like a, oh shit, we got to get this in there, than drawing it out and having a nice ending conclusion to the third film in a trilogy. All right, so that is everything I'm going to go over in the spoiler-free section of this movie. Like I said, it's on Peacock if you guys want to watch it. It's also in theaters. And here is your warning. I will be going into spoiler territory because I'm going to go over different things in my mixed and my outs on when it comes to that. So, warning, spoilers are starting in 3, 2, 1. All right. So when I was talking about going over the acting in this movie, I mainly only talked about Laurie in my spoiler-free section. I left out Corey, if you've seen the movie. Corey's a new addition to the cast, and I do feel like the actor played the part very well. I liked everything he did for the acting, the stuff he had to portray. I mean, it's just Everything he does well for his character. And then Allison, the granddaughter, I thought her acting was pretty good in this as well. I feel like there's a little bit more storyline for her this time around, so that was kind of nice. But getting into the main things, the kills that were there was so many off-screen kills in this movie, and I don't know, 4 or 5 into it, I was just like, come on. And there's not enough on-screen kills to make up for the fact of how many are off-screen. And the few that we do get on-screen are good kills. So I do wish there was some better. And then the one kill with the blowtorch, that kill was a little too close to the screen and it looked kind of fuzzy. Would have liked to have had maybe a little bit further angle out instead of the camera focusing on who was behind it versus what was happening to the actual person. I thought that would have been nice. But that DJ kill, when he goes into that DJ and he smashes his face off from like the keyboards and the stuff like that, all the buttons, and his jaw is all fucked up, and he cuts off his tongue and it lands on the record, and it's just playing the music over the radio for the town. But then it keeps skipping a beat every time it hits the tongue, and it's kind of rolling over the tongue, and the tongue's kind of flopping around on there. That was a good kill. All right, but the main reason why you guys want to know about spoilers is the plot. So this movie, Kills sidelined Lori, and she was in a hospital bed the whole time. This movie sidelines Michael Myers. Michael Myers is not really part of this Halloween movie a whole lot, and that is either going to make you happy or mad. It all depends on how you take the story that they give us. So they got Corey, who's the new character, and we start off with him right in the beginning. He's babysitting some kid, and when he's watching this kid's kind of a douchebag, locks him in the attic, and is kind of taunting him and tormenting him, and he's trying to get out. And when he does, he finally kicks that door open. That kid standing right next to that door gets smacked in the face, and he flips over the railing of the stairs, and it's about 3 stories high. And you see him fall in the background, break his neck and everything else when his parents are walking in. And Corey's standing there holding a knife, and then he gets blamed for the murder. Now, he doesn't go to jail because it is proven that it was an accident. He didn't do it on purpose. So it's a great way to kick off the film. And then we go through that, and since Halloween Kills, Michael Myers has been missing for the last 4 years. Nobody's seen him. But around Halloween time, bad things keep happening in town. Different people killing people, deaths happening. And we kind of get like an over voice of Lori talking about evil. And she tries to put him, and then she erases it, and then she puts it, and then she just puts the evil. Because she's writing a story now. And this is how she's dealing with how things have happened in the last 4 years. And she moved into a normal-ass house. She's living with her granddaughter. And everything's, for the most part, copacetic for them. And she's trying to live a life where she's not in fear and she's not worried about Michael Myers coming back. So then we pick up, and this movie's plot is more or less a love story between Allison, the granddaughter, and the new character, Corey. So we're following their love story because they meet each other because of Lori. They fall kind of for each other. But that's kind of a side of the story, and then you get the side of Corey, which is more like an exploration of what's going on with him. So he works at his dad's junkyard. People give him shit. There's a group of kids that torment him when they see him. He refuses to buy him alcohol, and then they just start being dicks to him. And people are kind of painting this picture of he killed this kid even though he's innocent, and that makes him a monster. So this kind of goes through that whole spiel of if you're being painted a monster enough, what actually could make you turn? Can you turn to a monster, or would you stay human, in a sense? And it also kind of talks about how people will take other people's pain, and they don't know what this pain is, but they make it their own thing to like lash out in anger at people, which does happen in society. I mean, we see it all this time on social media. Facebook, Twitter, all that stuff. Something tragic happens somewhere, and people who don't know what that's like and they've never been a part of it will still make a big deal out of it or make it like their own thing, and kind of like they're looking for the attention from it, or they're just using that as an excuse to lash out with anger at somebody. And that's kind of the the social commentary we get in this movie compared to the mob mentality in the last one. But this one does it in a very subtle way. They're not pushing it down your throat. We're not hearing Evil Vice Night a bunch of times. So I thought that was fine. It takes probably almost half the movie before we finally see Michael Myers. So what happens is Corey ends up going out dancing with Allison, and they're having a great time. And then Corey goes to the bar to get a drink, and the child's that he accidentally killed's mom is there, and she's giving him all this shit, and he has to get out of there because he mentally can't take it. And then Allison tries to get him to stop and go back in, and he refuses, and he pushes her away, and they're both mad at each other, but he takes off, and he goes down the road. Then he runs into those same kids that were being an asshole to him before, and they're going to be assholes again here. And he finally stands up for himself, and they wind up throwing him over a bridge, and he lands on the ground. There's a homeless guy down there, but then while he's laying down there beat up, he gets pulled into a sewer, Pennywise style. It's a big sewer, it's this big circle drain. And what he does is he gets pulled in there, and then when he wakes up, he doesn't know why he's in there or what's going on. He's looking around, he's just kind of seeing some stuff, but then as he goes to leave, Michael Myers grabs him by the throat from inside of like a wall. And there's this weird exchange. Michael looks into his eyes, he can see all the bad stuff that the kids, like the bad thing that he did to that other kid. And for some reason, Michael lets him go. But at this point, from this point on, Corey ends up being evil. He does act like a normal person who's trying to be himself when he's around Allison and stuff, but he's also sick of all the people who treat him like shit. And he ends up going on kind of a little bit of a killing spree. As soon as he walks out of there, the old man comes attacking at him and is like, why did he let you live? He's never let anybody leave there. Why did he let you live? And Corey ends up stabbing him in the stomach and leaving. So the next day when Corey and Allison are out on a date, her ex, who's like a cop, is kind of being a dick during this date because he walks over and he's trying to talk to Allison and he keeps cutting Corey off. And Corey ends up standing up to him because after meeting Michael, Corey now has this newfound sense of strength, so he feels like he can stand up for himself. And later on, that cop follows Corey as Corey goes back to the sewer drain again. And the cop goes into the sewer drain, and Corey ends up hitting the cop over the head, and he ends up holding the cop, and Michael comes out, and Michael's walking like I know Michael's old in this series because he was a grown-ass adult in 78. So he was an adult in 78, and so we're looking at least, 20-something years old. And now we're adding 40 on. We got him in his 60s. And then we're 4 years past that. So he's walking like he's old and he's kind of decrepit. And, Corey's telling him to show me, teach me. And he has him, Michael ends up killing the guy. Very, very uneventful because they're making him look old and decrepit here. And almost like he's weak. But then when he's stabbing the guy, he's kind of shaking like he's getting his power back. Like I don't know if he has to kill to get power, or if it's just making him feel like he's starting to feel alive again. And then Corey and Michael end up killing a few more people here and there. And eventually, when it's going to be Halloween time and Corey plans on taking Allison and fleeing Haddonfield, they keep using this line like burn it down. And that's their idea of we're going to fuck shit up. We're getting the hell out of here. We need to fix our lives. Because he gets painted as a monster and she still gets people who don't treat her the right way because she survived Michael Myers, but her grandma's the one who brought Michael Myers here somehow. They blame Laurie Strode for that. And what Corey ends up doing is, the day of Halloween, is we see him go into the sewer and he gets in a fight with Michael, but he pretty much gets the upper hand, throws him to the ground, straddles him, rips off his masks, and leaves. And then he goes on a little bit of a killing spree, killing all the people who's wronged him. He kills all those kids. He kills his mom, who's being a douche to him throughout the movie. And then he has one person left he wants to kill, and that's Laurie. So up to this point in the movie, this is why I'm gonna say either you're into it or you're out of it. And for me, I was into the storyline when it came to Corey, all the way up until about the point he throws Michael to the ground and straddles him and steals his mask. Michael went out and killed some people with him, so Michael wasn't completely old and decrepit, but he gets beat up by this 20-something-year-old kid like it's nothing. And in the last movie, we saw him kill an entire mob, like 20 plus people getting beat, getting shot, everything else. So I felt like this was a very shitty way of treating Michael Myers. Like, why does he have no strength and stuff? If you're trying to say it's because he's human and he's just old, we get that. But then how did he see what was going on in Corey's eye for what had happened at this point 3 years prior? Because that was in 2019. It doesn't make any sense. Him letting Corey go, and then Corey now all of a sudden has newfound strength and wants to kill people. Why? Did he pass his power on? Because if he did, then he wouldn't still be there helping kill people. Um, we don't know what the reason was. Maybe he felt, after looking into Michael's eyes, he felt something, and that's why he decided to go on this killing spree a little bit. And most of these kills they're okay, like I said. Corey goes on and he kills all these people, including that DJ I was talking about. But then he gets to Laurie's house, and we get a scene where Laurie's she knows somebody's there, and she fakes her own suicide. So when he opens the door, she shoots him in the chest twice. This is Corey. And he falls down over the balcony, just like the kid did. And he lands on the ground, and she ends up going down the stairs. And she fires off the rest of the rounds in the gun for no apparent reason, to have a regular old bear fight. And he's laying there bleeding on the floor, and he hears Allison pull up. And then at this point, he tells her that if he can't have her, nobody can. And he stabs himself directly in the throat. And Laurie's like, oh shit. And she pulls out the knife, and Allison sees it, thinks that Laurie killed him, and she leaves. So up to this point, he's been very, I don't use the word maniacal, but very manipulative. If you've ever watched the movie Fear, Mark Wahlberg does that in that movie a lot. It kind of reminds me of that. So he's doing all these awful things, but he's still going to see Allison, and he's being a little bit off, but not like full-fledged killer psychopath. But he keeps saying, oh, well, your grandma doesn't want me around. And then he calls and says, your grandma's trying to kill me. And he keeps doing these things to try to get her to get away from Laurie. But so we see him laying on the floor dead. The granddaughter leaves, and then Michael grabs a mask. So this movie's, I think, an hour and 50 minutes long. And I want to say for probably the first hour and let's go 25 minutes, we follow this character of Corey. Which, like I said, the acting was great. He did a great job. I was a big fan of what they were going for the most part. Pretty much even the whole tag team, him and Michael killing people together, and him feeding people to Michael. Like, I was like, okay, whatever. I can be on board with this for a little bit. But the minute that he beat the shit out of Michael Myers in like a minute and stole his mask, I was just like, man, fuck you, movie. That's really what it was. It was just, like, you built this character up. I mean, how many people did he kill in Halloween Kills? Fucking 30 or 40 fucking people? 50 people? If he did that 4 years ago, you're telling me in 4 years he now can't take a 1 minute fight with a fucking kid? I feel like that was just completely shitting on the Michael character. But then we keep going with the storyline. Whatever. Maybe they're doing like a passing of the torch. Maybe that's why they call him the Shape, so that it's not Michael Myers, it's the Shape, and it's just evil is in this shape. And maybe when they did a little touching, maybe the evil passed from Michael to this new character. okay, I didn't really want to passing of the torch in the final story of your trilogy. But if that's what you're going for, okay. Now the kid just fucking stabs himself in the throat and dies. Out of nowhere. There's no point for it. So you've made me sit here for the whole length of this movie up to this point, which, like I said, is like an hour and 20 minutes, maybe an hour and 30 minutes of going through this, the trauma he's went through, the shit he's been dealing with, the kind of like a character arc ish, and then you just get rid of him like he's nothing. And this is why, like I said before, in my outs was the ending felt like it was tacked on because now they're like, oh, Michael's got the mask. Now we're doing Michael versus Laurie. Boom. We got to have it in here. We said it was Halloween Ends. And then we get Michael versus Laurie, which is super unsatisfying. The fact that you did 2018 and it was successful, so then you got greenlit for 2 movies, and we get to see Michael Myers be a giant badass in kills, even though the movie is not very good in my eyes because the writing is terrible. And this one, Michael's sidelined the entire time, and when Michael comes in at this point, the fight between him and Laurie is probably a maximum of 5 minutes. So you've been building this up for years at this point now, and it's over in 5 minutes. And I mean, Laurie ends up stabbing him through the hand, and it gets stuck to like a cutting board table island thing in their kitchen. Then she ends up stabbing through his other hand. Then she pushes a refrigerator on his leg, and she winds up taking off his mask. And then she has some cheesy ass dialogue, and then she slits his throat, and the blood's pouring out. But he ends up ripping his hand off during this and grabs her by the throat, and she's like, "Do it, just fucking kill me, do it." And she's ready to accept her death because, ironically, this whole time she's kind of been waiting for it to happen. And then the granddaughter comes in, grabs his arms, and rips it from her throat and breaks it on the table that they're on and says, "I'm not going to let you go this way too, Grandma." Something of that effect. It was kind of line. Then they end up grabbing that wrist of Michael's and slitting it, and he's bleeding out. So at this point, you gave me a completely different movie than what you advertised. But when I first watched it, I hated the whole fucking movie. I'll be honest, my first thoughts was this movie fucking sucked. But that's why I waited a few days to do a review so I could get kind of a feeling on it and see if I actually did, if I liked it more as it marinated. And I did like the whole movie. I just wish that I'll get to it in a second. I'll just finish off what happens. So then they strap him to the hood, Michael Myers, and the police escort Michael Myers on top of their hood to the car garage, and definitively they hoist him up and they put him on their shoulders, kind of like crowd surfing, all the way to the parts and car grinder, and Laurie ends up pushing Michael's body down in, and it grinds it to pieces. So we know Michael Myers is officially dead. So they had the balls to actually kill someone between Michael and Laurie. Happened to be Michael. Which would have been fine, I think, had you still let Corey either still be killing or have Corey change his ways and turn to good at some point after he was doing his killing. Maybe, for some reason he ends up redeeming himself so he's not a complete piece of shit. But was still around. Because why did we follow a guy for 85% of this movie to watch him kill himself and then get 5 minutes of Michael Myers fighting with Laurie, which is what you guys build this whole movie as. And that's what I find annoying is I went into this movie with zero information besides it's Halloween Ends. This is the last one. And I watched no trailers. I refused myself to see any trailers. I didn't watch anybody's shit on YouTube talking about this, even though there's millions of different things you could see on this movie coming up to it. I treated this like a kid with glasses on. I was only going to have tunnel vision. When I get to this movie, I will see what happens and I will form my opinion. But after watching Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills, This is not how the movie was supposed to go, if you ask me, in this trilogy. I like the movie. I like that first quarter, or first 3 quarters of the movie. I think it's done very well. What I wish they had done was not done Halloween Kills the way they did it. We liked seeing Michael Myers as a badass that night, but how nice would it have been to put that kid accidentally dying, instead of being the intro to this movie, happening on the same night that Michael Myers is out killing everybody. Flesh that into half of Halloween Kills, where maybe we're following this story and Michael killing all these people, and maybe the stories will kind of intertwine with each other and stuff like that. And then this wouldn't feel like such a jarring switch off from what the series was acting like they were going for in this trilogy. So I just feel like that this movie doesn't fit. And I did find it ironic that if you're watching the movie in the beginning, it doesn't start off with a John Carpenter theme. It starts off with a DJ talking, which is different. And doing all these movies in the last, I don't know, week and a half, I think I plowed through 12 movies. The font is the same font for Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which is the only movie that has absolutely nothing to do with Michael Myers. And this movie has very, very little to do with Michael Myers. So that was kind of must be like an Easter egg hint to us to be like, hey, guess what? It's not the movie you think it is. All right, so that's my thoughts. That's why I hated the portrayal of Michael Myers, because they made him weak. He got beat up by like a 20-year-old. He got killed by Laurie in like 5 minutes. He seemed like a very weak character. And I felt like that did not do the character justice. Like, he was a killing machine. Just because 4 years passed by, and I know he's old, I just feel like that's just too far swing from one side to the other. You can't have the dude getting shot like 6, 7 times in the chest, getting beaten with all these weapons, and then slaughtering all those people to now he can barely walk. It was too much of a swing for me in that sense. And then the ending. Why was Laurie and Michael's ending 5 minutes? That should have been a longer ending. This is supposed to be an epic conclusion to characters who've been fighting for the last 44 fucking years. Like, I know they were gone for 40 years apart, but that's the theory, is Laurie's been waiting 40 years for him to come back, and then he does. Like, come on. 5 minutes, that's what we get? And you throw him into a grinder? To be honest, I thought it would have been hilarious, which there wasn't a lot of humor in this one, if you ask me. They didn't go overboard with the humor, but I was hoping when she went to dump his body in that he was going to somehow grab her leg and pull Laurie in, and they both went through the grinder and died together. I thought that would have been kind of fitting. Call it end to that move, whole trilogy completely right there. All right, so those are my thoughts on spoilers. Bringing everybody back in now, I'm going to do a rating on the movie at this time. So my rating on this film is a 2.75. There are some really good parts of this movie, but this movie did not feel like it was part of this trilogy the whole time. So therefore, I'm going to give it a 2.75. Because I feel like you can watch Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills back to back, and it's a fun watch. Like I said, there's a lot of kills and stuff. And this one just sways so far away that I feel like it's not what the movie was intended to be. And there were a lot of rewrites. During COVID, the whole trilogy was supposed to take place on one night. So all 3 movies were going to be over the course of one night. And when COVID hit and everything got pushed behind, they did some rewrites, they did some reshooting, and they changed things around. And this is what we ended up getting. Like I said, I give it a 2.75. If you guys want, leave some comments down below. I know this is a very divisive movie. Maybe you guys can tell me if you loved it or if you hated it. Tell me why. Maybe you can help me change my mind if you've run through my spoilers section on some of the things, or we can talk about some of the things that were good. So don't forget to hit a like, subscribe if you haven't already, turn on your notifications so you can see when the next one comes in. And remember, guys, rest N. Peace.